Hi, Claudia.
Hello, how are you?
I'm very well. How about you?
I'm well also.
Okay, good to know. Carol? Okay?
Yes, teacher, I'm okay.
Good. Mario, I hope you're right. Fabiana, are you okay?
Hi, yes.
Is this your first time here?
No, last week I watched the class 6 p.m.
Oh, okay. Well, welcome to our class again, okay?
Thank you.
Hope to see you every day. The more the better, okay?
Okay.
We can
Thank
have
you.
more fun. Hello again, Raquel. Hello, Erica. How are things?
Fine, and you, teacher?
I'm all right. I just can't see you today. What's happening?
No.
Ah!
Ah,
Today you are surprising us with the Aurora Borealis, okay?
Yes.
You know,
I changed the places today.
yes, I did Google it, you know, but I don't know what happened. I think it's my computer, okay? Every time I tried to select the background, it didn't give me the option to choose like a movie, understand? I even made some very interesting movies myself, understand? But
Yeah.
okay, let's keep
You're
watching.
in Amsterdam now.
Yes, yes.
That's nice.
Change it too. Yes. Yes, that's the time I said I was looking for a good pizza place in the red light district. Okay.
Did you find?
Oh yes, oh yes. I found a great Italian restaurant there. Okay. I don't know why you're laughing. I was actually looking for a pizza place, a nice pizza place.
We believe
Yes.
it.
And I only had a pizza, I swear. Give me the Bible and I swear on the Bible, okay? I only had a pizza, nothing else, okay?
Oh,
Anyway.
teacher, you met my friend Fabiana. I invite her to your class.
Ah, she did mention something about, somebody told me, but she didn't say her name, okay?
Yeah.
She said, a friend of mine told me about your class, so I decided to watch it. Okay. It's good to see that she's back. Well, today I have prepared, and I don't know if they have already uploaded the class for today. I just called them in the break I had between the intermediate class and the advanced to complain about. They had forgotten to upload. They were
Now is available to teacher.
Yes, they were overloaded there with work. And they said, I'm sorry, we are just doing it now. So all the classes are already available. But anyway, what are we going to do? For the first few moments, we are not going to need the material. It's, okay, yes. Let me find it here. Share the screen before Carol complains. Okay, that's it. Okay, I found it. Okay. Today's class is called Taken by Surprise. It's a passage, it's a long passage. I'd like you to listen to it, try to understand what's going on before you look at it. Understand? So, that's
Teacher, let me ask
Yes.
something. I don't know, but we finished the last class. I don't remember.
What was the last class about? I think
No,
we finished.
Don't finish it.
We
haven't
didn't finish,
finished.
No.
no, you haven't finished. I think it's me.
Two
The
pages.
classical
Page
mistakes, no?
Okay, we still have to talk about that. I thought
Yes.
we had finished. Let me see if I have it here. Okay. Let me open it then. Copy, 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 copy. Advanced, common. Okay, yes. Okay. Let me open it. It's in the clouds, so it takes a little longer. Hi, Isa.
Hello, teacher.
Isa with the new hairstyle, huh?
Yeah, do you like it?
Yeah, looks good. Nice. Looks nice. Okay. You wish you could say the same about mine, but I don't have that much hair, okay?
If you want, I can borrow some.
What's that?
I can borrow some if you want.
Oh, I would love to get some extra hair, especially for this part here, okay?
Okay, I will give.
Okay. Let's see where we stopped then. You said do you remember where?
Two
Page
pages
6.
left.
Two.
2 pages left.
2 pages left. So the last page is page 8. So we have to see
It's
page
page
7.
6, teacher. We stop in page 6.
I remember this MPT rule. We talked about this.
Yes, that's the end of the classes.
We stopped right here, yes?
Yes, we are not seeing your screen, teacher.
Yeah, you scream. Yeah.
Okay.
Teacher, I'm waiting now. You see?
Carol,
For
you don't
not
have...
someone to complain.
Yes, okay, so you see, you just gave Raquel a chance, okay?
Yeah.
It's Carol's time to do that, okay? She's the one that complains. Pay attention here. I think we stopped at the MPT. That means manner, place, and time. That's the rule. If you break it, you make a mistake. Like, I took Mary last Saturday to the movies. It's wrong. Because I took Mary, it's okay. It's not okay, but it's all right. Grammatically speaking, okay? Because my wife's name is Claudia. So I took Claudia, it's better. Now it's correct. I took Claudia last Saturday to the movies. Last Saturday's time, so it should be at the end. I took Claudia to the movies last Saturday. Now it's perfect, okay? Now, an interesting point is that adverbs, okay? Many people think that an adverb only modifies a verb. That is not completely true. An adverb also modifies an adjective, okay? And the position is before the adjective or before another adverb when it modifies. Like, the dancer was almost ready for the show. Okay, so almost is an adverb, ready is another adverb. So I cannot say ready almost. No, ready, almost ready for the show. Okay? Completely exhausted. I am modifying exhausted, which is an adjective, with the adverb completely. Okay? Like I was completely exhausted last night. Okay? So it's always before the adjectives or before the adverbs they modify. If they modify a verb, okay, then it's after the verb or after the object. Okay? Like she dances. She dances what? Tango. How? Very well. Okay? If I say she dances very well tango, it's not okay. Because I am modifying tango. It's tango that she dances very well. Okay? All right?
All right.
All right.
Right.
Okay. Else should be followed by but and not then. Like the girl did nothing else but gossip about others. I cannot say the girl did nothing else than gossiping. No, nothing else but. This is together. Okay? All right? Brazilians usually, because they think in Portuguese, they say, she did nothing else then. Okay? No, the correct is nothing else but. So you have to memorize them together. Enough, enough. We pronounce like F. Is an adverb. So it's always placed after the adjective it modifies. Like the girl is intelligent enough to understand the situation. Okay? Now, when they modify an adjective, I use it after. Now, if you want, you can even write it down. If they are modifying a noun, I use it before the noun. Like, do you have money to pay for the train ticket? I don't have enough money to pay. Can you lend me some? So, enough money. It's not okay to say I don't have money enough. It's enough money or she's intelligent enough. This is confusing because you have to see the word that it modifies. Okay? Understand this?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Negative adverbs. Negative adverbs. Seldom. Nowhere. Never. Nothing. Hardly. Scarcely. Neither. Barely. Rarely. They are already negative, so they should not be used with other negative words. I rarely meet anybody on the weekends. It's not okay to say I rarely meet nobody. In Portuguese, we do use double negative words in the same sentence, okay? It's very common, like I didn't talk to nobody. That is not acceptable in English. If you didn't talk to nobody in English, that means you talked to somebody because negative plus negative makes an affirmative. This is mathematics, okay? So it has nothing to do with English. But in English, these words, in spite of not having a not, they are all considered negative words. So you cannot have two negatives, okay? He does nothing without ever consulting me. I cannot say he does nothing without never consulting me. Nothing, never, no. Nothing without ever, okay? Any problem about this or no?
No.
No.
Now, the other part here, articles are omitted before names of substances and abstract uncountable nouns. Okay, for instance, this is one of the things, Carol, specifically talking to you. When you mentioned the time you moved to, you said, I moved to this Sorocaba. You see?
Okay.
I can never use an article before a name.
Name.
The only exception that is admissible is the United States of America, the United Kingdom, the Netherlands. When the names of the places are in the plural, then it's possible. Okay? The People's Republic of China, okay, the United Kingdom, but there are no more than Philippines. There are only like 5 or 6 names of countries that are in the plural, okay? Then I can use, but I never say the Brazil. You can translate this using the definite article in Portuguese, but not in English. In English, you say Brazil, okay? Like gold is a precious metal. I can't use the gold is a precious metal. Understand? Now, I can't use the definite articles when the nouns are in a general sense. Like water is an important liquid to all of us. Gold is a very precious metal. But if I, for instance, if I want to talk about the gold of my ring is one specific gold, then I can use it. Understand? Like the water from Lambari, Minas Gerais, is very good. It's not water in a general sense. It's one specific water. Understand? The gold of my bracelet, okay, you can't see, but the gold of my bracelet is 18 carats, okay? Then I'm talking about one specific gold. Then it's possible, but in a general sense, never. Also, we don't use the definite article before plural countable nouns, like children like chocolates. Children like chocolates. We don't say the children like. Okay? Children like. Dinner is ready. Dinner, lunch, breakfast. Okay? That goes for Carol again. We never say a dinner, a lunch, a breakfast. Okay? It's dinner, breakfast, lunch. We don't use definite or indefinite articles.
In
Before
any time?
okay. I'm sorry?
No, sorry.
Is there any doubt, Isa?
No, I mean,
About lunch and dinner, for example, you never put an article? Never, never, never?
Never say never, 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 okay? You always find exceptions. You always find exceptions.
okay.
As I said, the dinner that my wife prepared on my birthday was fantastic. See, when you specify something, you never use before general senses. Like dinner's ready, come and get it, okay? Lunch is ready, but tomorrow I'm going to prepare lunch, not the lunch, you see?
See.
Before languages is the same, like French is a sweet language. Again, the English spoken in Australia is quite a bit different from the English spoken in the United States, okay? It's one specific English, but in a general, English is the most widely spoken language in the world, okay? People say, no, there are more people that speak Chinese. Yes, but only in China, understand? All over the world, I think English is more widely spoken than Chinese, okay? Now, also, before words like school, college, university, church, bed, hospital, prison, when these places are visited or used for their primary use, let's understand this. My friend has been admitted to hospital. Why? Because he's sick, right? This is the primary use. Like, where's Mary? She went to school. We don't say she went to the school. So again, I'm going to reply to Isa's comment. If I say I'm going to the school to talk to the principal about some bullying matters, you see, I'm not going to school to study. The primary
to do a specific
thing, exactly, understand? Like, John went to prison. I'm going to the prison to visit him. That's different. I didn't do anything illegal. He did, so he went to prison for breaking the law, for committing a crime. And I'm going there to visit him. So in this case, I could use, okay?
Yes.
So you see, you always have exceptions, but we are talking in a general sense. When two or more adjectives qualify the same noun, the article is used before the first adjective only. So the example is, I have a black and white cat. Okay? The cat is black and white. So I have a black and a white cat. I don't have two cats. Understand?
Yes.
Okay, so I have black and white. So I use it before the first one. When two or more adjectives qualify different nouns, then the article is used before each one. I have a black and a white cat. So in this case, I have two cats. Okay? See the difference?
Yes.
While comparing, if two nouns refer to the same person or thing, the article is only used before the first noun. Like, he's a better poet than novelist. Okay? A better poet than a novelist. No, a better poet than novelist. Scarcely, okay. Hardly should be followed by when. Like, scarcely had I started for school when my friend arrived. And once again, I want to remind you that both words are affirmative or negative.
Negative.
Exactly. So because they are negative, they require that you invert the position between the verb and the subject. Of scarcely had I started. Hardly do I have or did I have anything to eat today. Hardly did I have. It's not a question. It's only necessary to make the subject-verb inversion. And if I don't have an auxiliary verb, I have to introduce do, does for the simple present and did for the past. In this case is I had started for school when my friend arrived. But because I started the sentence with scarcely, I have to say scarcely had I started. Okay?
Okay.
Hardly had my friend arrived when my school principal called me. No sooner is the same, negative, so requires the subject-verb inversion, but no sooner is followed by then. No sooner did my friend arrive than my school principal called me. Okay? Though, observe that many people confuse three words, through, thought, and though. Okay? Very common mistakes. Thought, past tense of think. Through is the preposition when you drive through São Paulo to get to like Guarujá. And though is the same of however. Okay? Though is usually followed by yet. Like, though she was studious, yet she could not score well in his. I made a mistake here. In her exams, okay? Okay?
Okay.
I cannot correct here because it's in the cloud and I could only find a PDF file. I couldn't find the Word file. But if you have the printed material, you can correct there. Though she was, yet she could not score well in her exams. Not only, but also. The verb should agree with the noun or the pronoun mentioned second, not first. Okay, for example, not only the boy, yes. Question.
No, please say it.
Okay. Not only the boy, but also the girls were singing in the bus. You see, the verb agreement here is with the girls and not the boy. Not only the boy, but also the girls. Okay? And almost finishing. Unless. Unless means if not. Hence is the same as a consequence. It is not used in negative sense. Unless you work hard you will fail. Okay? It's the same of if you don't work hard, you will fail. Exactly the same. You can choose if you want to say, unless you work hard, you will not make any money. Or if you don't work hard, you don't make any money. Okay? So,
Teacher, unless
yes.
is a negative word, and in this case, why we don't have the
It doesn't
inversion?
require the inversion. It doesn't
No?
require the inversion. No,
Okay.
no. It's not listed. It's not in that list. You can check it there.
Okay.
Okay? All right? Last expresses negativity. It cannot be used with no. Okay? You can say, I've never seen this. Yes, but it exists. Should is always used with last. Like walk carefully. Last you should fall. It doesn't require the inversion. It's the same, but it has a negative meaning. Okay? That means if you don't walk carefully, you will fall. You will fall. So last, walk carefully, last you fall. You should fall. Now, when I use the adjective different, I always say different from and not different than. Like, this is different than the one I have at home. No, a typical Brazilian usually says, this is different than the one I have. Like, oh, I also have a Dell computer, but it's different from, different than, yes, the one I have. This is not correct. When I say different, it's always different from and not different than, okay? As I said, everything here is to be studied, to be learned. So in a nutshell, remember, are you familiar with this expression? Erika, Carol, Isa, Claudia? In a nutshell.
No.
Yes, in a nutshell, you can use to conclude something, like in summary, in a nutshell. Okay, like I gave you 50 examples. In a nutshell, if you go through the above mentioned 50 basic English grammatical rules and remember to apply them while you are solving and practicing questions in your English paper for any exams, especially questions from important topics like spotting of errors or sentence improvement, you will get a majority of the questions pertaining to the aforementioned rules. So learn them and apply them correctly and carefully. All these rules should be carefully studied by anyone who intends to take any proficiency exam. Okay? If you don't want to take any test like TOEFL or TOEIC or IELTS or Cambridge, maybe you don't have to study them. But if you want to speak correctly, I would highly suggest that you study them. Okay?
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, there is not much I can talk. I just tried to put together in just one single paper the 50 most common mistakes, and you have to learn them, unfortunately, if you want to speak well. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Finished? Can we go to today's class?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, sure.
Thank you. Okay. If you want, I can even prepare some exercise for you concerning those mistakes, okay? Let me share another screen. Okay. That's it. Yes. Taken by surprise. I wanted to finish that fast because we have to listen to this passage before seeing the passage. And the listening is quite long. So I need your full attention for the next exactly 10 minutes. Try to understand the main idea, why the person was taken by surprise. Okay? Let me know if the sound is clear and you can listen well.
Taken by Surprise by Edward I. Maxwell.
Yes, it's okay.
Caution. Only fully trained and equipped subway employees should ever walk the subway tunnels and tracks. Pedestrians should never step down off a subway platform onto the track for any reason. If there is a dropped item on the track or an emergency, seek out an employee or police officer. Tim loved working in the subway. Loved it. If you pushed him, he'd admit he loved it more than his father. Not more than his mother, but definitely more than his old man. The subway, its tracks, tunnels, rails, and switches were his. Dirty and run down to most everyone else, but magnificent and sprawling to Tim. The strangest part is that Tim loved the subway most when it rained. When it poured, it didn't matter if Tim was even on the clock. He would check in, grab his vest, hard hat, and lantern, and walk the tracks. It was just such a night. Off the clock, but still on the job. Thunder crashed overhead. The tunnel was a cool, wet 50 degrees. Rain dripped through the grates overhead. Little streams flowed underneath the railroad ties. For Tim, this was when the subway really came alive and showed the world its true self, the greatest cavern ever built, the greatest network of caves ever used by man. Tim missed the next tie, and his boot fell hard into the river running between the rails. A critter squealed at Tim's inconsiderate splashing, and he smiled to himself. The last bit of humidity from the 90-degree day moved across his face, pushed by a cool breeze behind. Tim turned into it and looked down the tunnel at the long, curving way, flecks of light glancing off the steel. He took a deep, satisfied breath and walked on. Tim did not always walk the subway. He did not always work for it. He used to have a job behind a cramped desk in a cramped office, working with cramped people who couldn't imagine much beyond their cubicles. Needless to say, they did not share Tim's enthusiastic dreams of urban spelunking. But Tim made those dreams a reality, and left his cubically caged mates for subterranean trusses, I-beams, and engineered slopes. Moving further along the tracks, Tim grew aware of something completely unexpected out in front of him. With each step, the void ahead seemed to quiet more. After another 30 yards, Tim was standing in a completely silent stretch of tunnel. Water did not drip, critters did not scurry, and street traffic overhead was muffled beyond recognition. Tim felt anxiety grip him, and he immediately switched on his lantern. He needed more light than what laced off the tracks to investigate this exception. The I-beams were the first sight to set his stomach seizing. There was not a single rusted wrought iron pillar as far as his lantern could stretch. Instead, the beams had been covered, or replaced entirely, he could not tell, by concrete columns, gray and sterile to the touch. The concrete had been purposefully pockmarked to absorb vibrations as trains passed through. While the iron beams had acted as tuning forks, allowing the clanging chorus of steel wheels on steel rails to resonate around a bend, the new pillars seemed capable of soaking up any din like a sponge. Tim let his hand run over each geometric dimple and shuddered at the thought of every ding or clang already trapped, unable to dance along, weaving in and out of subway cars. It was in that moment Tim realized also that there was no water dripping down onto his helmet from overhead. He looked up and was confronted by a modern ventilation duct gently circulating the air. If his journey had begun here in this part of the tunnel, he would not have known that rain was coming down in buckets up above. Tim rested his chin on his chest, shook his head, and cursed to himself. What have they done to this place? His eyes turned downward. Tim realized that the streams between the rails had dried up. The ties were made of pre-poured concrete. The channel was carved with smooth right angles and drainage points all along the way. There was no sign of the ragged, splintered wooden ties that would give way under a car's weight and send a wobble through each passenger's legs. What have they done to this place? The anxiety started to creep back into Tim's mind. The pockmarked concrete pillars started to resemble the pressed fireproof boards used as part of his old cubicle walls. The space in between tracks looked like linoleum office flooring underfoot. The pre-poured railroad ties were like simple inlaid design work. The vent and clean truss work overhead resembled the ceiling and air conditioning grates that hung lifelessly over his old desk. What have they done to my place? Tim wasn't spelunking anymore. He was moving past the standard forms of an office. He was walking down rows of cubicles on his way to the water cooler, and he hated it. He wanted to go back to the run-down caverns he loved so dearly. He wanted to run his hands over a man-made creation that could not resist the pull of a more natural order. He wanted to walk through a space engineered to be one thing, but that had been reclaimed over time by a world greater than the design specifications. It was in this moment that a train horn sounded, steady and deep. Tim lifted his head to watch twin eyes about 300 yards down the track moving toward him. He quickly stepped out from between the rails, off to the side between two columns. Making sure he was far enough back, Tim braced up against the pillar and waited for the train to pass. The train began to file by him only a few moments later, but Tim only knew it by the faint rush of air. There was no sound, and he had closed his eyes in a vain attempt to hold back the tears running down his cheeks. What have they done? Tim cried for some time after the train passed. He knew it wasn't going to be long before the rest of the tunnels were redone in the same way. There would be nothing left of the subway of which he had grown so fond. He made his way back down the tunnel and out one of the access points. He was off the clock for good. Back on street level, the rain had stopped. Thunder and lightning had abated. The moon was even beginning to peek out from behind the wisps of cloud. The city was coming back, as people began to realize the storm was done with trying to stake a claim. Tim shuffled along, wondering, what do I do now? He found a bench, sat down, and tried to push those searching questions out of his mind. He watched people step out into the night, hail cabs, meet friends, and walk into restaurants. He watched people enjoy the sterile streets, buildings, places, which had all pushed him underground to what had been the last place of refuge from the austere. Tim longed to smile blissfully as these people did, to smile as he had only hours earlier at the sound of a critter's fearful squeal. But the smile would not come to his lips. They remained set, the thin line unparted, shallow breaths moving through his nose. Do I leave? No one gave Tim much notice. He was only sitting silently, nothing threatening about him. It was as if he was part of the bench, no reason for concerned or worried looks. He didn't want to be part of this world, so the world did not acknowledge him. The moon rose higher in a clear night sky, and the streets were quiet once more. Tim stood and took off his hard hat and vest. Moving to the nearest garbage can, he dropped them in without a second thought. Digging into his pocket, Tim found his subway badge and tossed that in as well. He set his lantern down beside the can for anyone to find and use as he or she wished. He took a deep breath in through his nose and let it out slowly through his mouth. Where do I go? Tim walked the 20 blocks to the main train station. He quietly purchased a rail pass, destination unmarked, and found his way to the main board. The next departing train was already boarding. Tim stopped at a kiosk on the way to the track and purchased a newspaper. Taking the stairs, he was on the platform in moments, staring at a train that waited patiently for the last few passengers. Newspaper under his arm, Tim stepped on board and found an open seat by the window. The conductor sounded the whistle, calling for all aboard. The train doors closed, and Tim opened his paper as the train left the station.
How was it? Long.
A lot of new words.
Oh, yes, a lot of new words. That's why it's here. Okay. If only had old words, I would not give it. But what is the idea? What is this story about? Luana, you were so carefully listening. What is the story about? The general idea. Why was he taken by surprise? What did he see that made him even cry?
The subway was different and was renovate a new
Renovated.
It renovated a new station with contract and
Concrete.
concrete, like his old office.
Uh-huh.
So he got sad that he was going back to his old life. He compare. That's what I understand a little bit.
Well, I think you understood a lot. Okay. Did he enjoy working at the subway
Yes.
or for the subway?
A lot.
He enjoyed even more than he liked what? It was
His
an
own father. His own father. He's an old man.
Yes, he enjoyed more. He liked it more than his old man. Did he also like it more than his mother too, or no?
No.
No.
No, the mother, no. Only the father.
No.
Yeah.
Just his father.
And has he always worked for the subway company?
No. He used to work at the office.
Yes. And how was the office work? Did he feel comfortable there?
Not really.
No, he preferred the tracks.
Yes, he preferred the tracks, but the new tracks or the old tracks?
The old.
The old
No.
Yes, that is exactly. And when he realized they were remodeling the tunnels or the caves, as he used to say, he was really disappointed, okay? Because he liked things in the old way, okay? Like the pillars made of steel, okay? Dripping water all over, understand? And in the new tunnels, there was no dripping water. Everything was made out of concrete, porch market concrete, understand? And they even had special drains for the water, so no stream of water would form between the rails, okay? And what did he, I don't know if you got this, but at the end of this new visit to the new part of the subway system, what did he decide to do?
Leave his job.
He decided to leave his job, exactly.
He threw
No.
away his ID,
Badge.
the badge.
The badge, the vest, the hard hat. The only thing he left beside the trash was his lantern in the hope somebody would use it. And where did he go?
A restaurant?
Restroom? He needed to pee? Yes?
No, not the restroom.
He went into a train, right?
Yes, he took a train to where?
That one I didn't got.
I don't remember. I don't think they said.
He didn't say it. He took a train to nowhere. He just took a train, an old train, okay?
Yes.
In the old style.
Was
Guess
he
what?
reading a newspaper? No, or something with
Yes. He bought a newspaper and he started maybe looking for a new job to start a new life.
and going with no destination.
Exactly. He bought an unmarked ticket without having a final destination and got on a train and left. Okay. Do you guys have a subway at the city where you live in?
No.
No.
No. They promised in Curitiba since I was a child, but it never happened.
Okay.
I do, but it's not a big, it's a small one.
Small one?
Yeah,
Is it
have
like,
two lines, 3 lines.
okay. Well, but it usually starts like this. Then they start, as soon as they start bribing the politicians with money, they will start expanding the lines, okay? It's a lot of money involved in the construction of a subway system. But I'd like you just before finishing the class, take a look at the photograph. Are the subways that you are familiar with quite similar to the one in the photograph, or they're different?
It's different.
This is like the old ones.
I'm not talking
Yeah,
about
it's-
the train itself. I'm talking about the space. For instance, at the subway where you usually ride or take, or one subway that you have been to, can you get close to the tracks or no?
No.
Yeah, it's like that.
Yeah, it's like that.
Close.
Depends.
There are no
Yeah.
protection between the platform and the train.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the interesting thing, because here in Turin, you don't even see the train. You only see the train when it stops, and they open like automatically some glass doors, and then you can walk into the subway. And unlike the subway in London, there is no gap. Understand? Like between the platform and the train.
The train.
Because
big
what yes, mind the gap.
It's really dangerous.
What I hate most about riding the subway in London is listening to that metallic voice saying all the time, mind the gap, mind the gap, mind the gap, mind the gap. I get tired of that. If you have to take the subway several times a day, you go crazy listening to that mind the gap. Here it's amazing.
I think in São Paulo has its protection too, like a glass, I guess. Isn't
The
it?
yellow line.
Yes,
some
the yellow
station.
line. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
I think
it's all protected. Yes.
Yeah.
And that is a very nice way of avoiding accidents, because like yesterday I was watching a movie where a girl was pushed, she was killed. The guy just walked by her and pushed her in front of the train that was approaching.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah, and there's many cases of suicide as well.
Exactly. Many people do commit suicide just jumping into the train, the upcoming train. And here it's impossible because you have a glass. I don't know when I'm going to take the subway, but the next time I promise I'll take a picture. You don't see the train. You have glass windows all over, but it covers completely, even at the top of the train. And only when the train stops, the train doors and the glass doors open. There is no gap, and you walk into the subway, okay? Well, this is a long passage, as you notice, with tons of new words, okay? It has like, I don't know how many pages, 9 pages, I think.
Yeah.
Yes, 6 pages. All right. Tomorrow we will play it again. You will read. You have a chance to see all the new words that the guy used to describe the underground caves that he used to walk in. Okay? And then we also have comprehension questions. Okay? and I made sure I included the letter E in all of them, okay? Because usually we only have, yes, yes, we only have the A, B, C, D, but I made sure I include the E. I don't know.
Thank you.
Lately, that has been the most common answer. So, you see, now you're going to be right. If you don't know, you just circle E. I don't know, teacher. Okay? And
Perfect.
everyone will find an answer for himself or herself. I hope to see you girls and guys tomorrow again. I'm missing some of the guys. The guys disappeared. I don't know where Marcus is. I don't know where Wagner is. Nobody has been singing lately. The girls are shy. They don't sing.
Or bad singers, huh?
Well, I am sure that nobody's worse than your teacher, okay?
I
All
doubt.
right.
I think I am pretty bad.
Yeah, I know. I confess. Okay, I'll see you girls tomorrow. We will take a look at this again. We'll discuss everything. I hope you have a wonderful evening because as you know, I'm already a pumpkin. I'm falling asleep today. Okay? But I'll see you tomorrow. Okay? Good night.
Good teacher.
Bye. See you tomorrow.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Thank you for you too. Bye.